بينا الدالي برورنا وبعرنا قنت ليه يومك ما ماري قلوبنا حتى لك عمان تالي برورنا وبعرنا نقبلو نوش نوابينا نتكللو قبيلنا من دبلو ودايو من أمرو تاريخ حسرو
تحزي فتسي فززي سلو كل قريمو بسنك باطل هزبعو سراوي يوصيلو باطل محماتي في ودي إريتريا سميرة مدري مركماتي في حيلي بتاجال باغيرو
It was 21 years ago that historical annals recorded the astounding military exploit of February 1990. Fenkil is one of the historic victories in the 30 years long Eritrean struggle for independence. At its time, it showed the clock was racing for the Derg region. Deemed to be one of the world's military feats for the remarkable military strategy, skill and battlefield tactics, Fenkil is a great event in which Eritreans take due pride and commemorate. As such, the day has become an integral part of the Eritrean people's culture, where thousands would commemorate by flocking to Massawa. On its 21st anniversary, the day is being commemorated under the band Team Fenkil, Apiary of Eritrean Independence. For in the wake of ultimate liberation of our country, it played a significant role and was the springboard from which our eventual independence came. For in the wake of ultimate liberation of our country, it played a significant role and was the springboard from which our eventual independence came. Operation Fenkil took place in 1990 in and around the major Eritrean port. The port of Massawa has always been the lifeline of the colonizers. The Italians had used it to bring supplies and soldiers in their quest to conquer Eritrea. The English had used it to send their soldiers and arms elsewhere, and it was also used by the Derg region to import weapons from the Soviet Union. Thus, the Derg built massive fortifications around the city, defending it from the land as well as the sea. Following the operation, Eritrea's liberation already became inevitable. The success of the Eritrean independence movement in capturing the city of Massawa has been a very significant victory because it meant cutting the lifeline of colonization. The Eritrean fighters scored a decisive military victory over the then biggest army in sub-Saharan Africa, armed with sophisticated Soviet weaponry, in contrast to the Eritrean fighters' modest arsenal. The operation presented a unique position to the EPLF, for it did prove the steadfastness and the resolutiveness of the Eritrean liberation movement. It was a milestone for the EPLF as it was the strategic success. But for the most part, its success traces its roots to another significant victory of the EPLF, the NADO.
ግንባር ናደው እዚ ቀብርናቱ ስለዝኾነ ኣብዚ ቀብርናቱ ከዓ ኩላትና ኣብትናቱ ሓመድበ ንምክፋል ይተኣኪና ዘላ ማለት እዩ።
In 1987, the NATO command in Apiary had over 20,000 well-armed forces equipped with sophisticated motorized and mechanized units. What makes it unique in a way was that during the storming of the NATO command, for the first time, the EPLF captured 3 Soviet advisors. Apiary must have been a lot for the Derg, for the regime tried its best to retake the town of Apiary for about 5 months by deploying soldiers that were stationed in various parts of Eritrea, Ethiopia and Somalia. After the downfall of the NATO command, the demise of the Halhal command followed suit. And perhaps as a result of the thinning rank, the region was defeated in Aordat, Barantu and Tessenay. In these fronts, 60,000 enemy soldiers were killed. The continuous defeat of the Derg army in several commands made the Ethiopian senior officers and soldiers lose hope about the fate of the ruling junta. The EPLF fighters were engaged in intensive training in all sections of the front, ranging from infantry to mechanized units, while small-scale preparatory campaigns were carried out. Preceding the Fenkil operation though, some infantry and mechanized unit of the EPLF were made to be stationed along the Marsa Ibrahim, a front line that stretched for about 80 kilometers. Strategically speaking, Massawa was decisive for the continued stay of the Derg region in Eritrea. Being a sea outlet, it had been a lifeline for the shipment of armaments and logistics from its suppliers. It was concluded that the liberation of the port city would fasten the noose of then regime's neck and create a conducive environment to liberate cities and towns in the eastern and southern parts of Eritrea, such as Dek Mahara, Adikayah, and Sanafa, among others. The EPLF launched the coordinated attack on Thursday, February the 8th. Across 200 kilometers, defense lines stretched from the western periphery of Karen southwards to Ras Koba, 40 kilometers north of Massawa. Within the early 4 hours of the battle on the western side, EPLF forces captured 7 tanks, 5 Stalin organ rocket launchers, and other military hardware. The eastern flank of the Ethiopian defense lines was broken halfway through the next day, enabling the EPLF divisions to begin moving closer to Massawa. At this juncture, EPLF forces had advanced 60 kilometers from their starting point. Unable to withstand the mounting attack, the eastern flank of the Second Revolutionary Army soon gave away, and they found themselves mixed up with garrisons of Ethiopian forces dotted here and there. The commanders of the EPLF decided it was too dangerous to mix up with the enemy, and therefore took on a mopping campaign, regrouping once more on the Samhar plains and attacking. After a fierce battle that spanned 72 hours, the port city of Massawa finally fell at the hands of the gallant Eritrean fighters at exactly noon, Saturday the 10th of February. The Derg region, after its bitter defeat, attempted to mount abortive counterattacks in the following days. On Monday, February 12, Ethiopian troops set out from the Dahalag Islands in an attempt to gain a foothold in Massawa. The endeavor was repulsed, with the Ethiopian army losing almost half of its total fleet strength. regime had to face the magnitude of casualties and material losses following its defeat in Massawa. Around 8,000 soldiers, along with a number of senior commanders, including Brigadier General Telahun Tekhle and Brigadier General Ali Haj Abdullah, were captured. More than 80 tanks, 7 Stalin organs, 21 rocket launchers, 622mm artillery guns, 10 Russian-made anti-tank missiles, artilleries, and ammunition were captured, and 24 tanks were destroyed during the battle. And the Second Revolutionary Army had a heavy casualty count that found 4 infantry, 3 motorized and mechanized brigades totally destroyed. The casualties of the enemy were mounting every day. When Gahatalai fell to the 85th Division of the EPLF, Colonel Aforki Tekhle along its army and 50 tanks surrendered. In a bid to provide aid to its forces, the defeated Derg regime dispatched 2 MiG combat aircrafts, but to its dismay, both were shot down by the EPLF's anti-aircraft unit. The regime, in an attempt of deterring the freedom fighters' march forward, reached such a suicidal level. The army commenced launching artilleries to the battle zone from Bizan and Beit Gergish of the outskirts of Asmara. But this hardly yielded results. During the seaborne battle against the heavily armed Ethiopian naval forces, the young and least armed EPLF naval forces inflicted heavy damages and sank 9 Ethiopian warships and captured of 2 others. The defeat of the Ethiopian naval forces by the EPLF naval forces was indeed a historic one. It was a battle that has been won thanks to the unparalleled dedication and steadfastness of the Bahariya. On the other side, the liberation of Massawa sent shock waves through Mengistu's region. Addis Ababa first tried in characteristic manner to deny its defeat. But in the indirect address that was broadcast by Ethiopian radio and a week later, Mengistu admitted Massawa has been captured and its loss will be a definite shock the Second Revolutionary Army, and that it meant a loss one shouldn't live about. Mengistu was obviously calling for the Second Revolutionary Army to recapture the port. Able to swallow the fact that Massawa has been claimed by its rightful owners, and that large stockpile of supplies fell into the hands of the liberation forces. In a last-ditch attempt, the Derg sent its air force to level the city. In an indiscriminate aerial bombardment that targeted anything within sight, the regime dropped bombed napalm and cluster bombs over Massawa, leaving its many of civilians' population dead injured and traumatized.
ሰራዊት ሓርነት ኤርትራን ታጋዮች ሊመክት ወይም ሊቋቋም ከቶ አልቻለም። በመሆኑም በደርግ አመለካከት መሳሪያ በታጠቀው ታጋይና መሳሪያ ባልታጠቀው ሰላማዊ ሕዝብ መካከል
To this day, some of the buildings hold the scars of the war. The wanton destruction of the city by the regime's air force betrayed the state of utter desperation the regime was now in. Eritrea, after successive colonial rule spanning for half millennium, restored its proper right through the resilience and determination of its freedom fighters and the people alike. This significant historic juncture was preceded by a series of battles fought in the terrains of Nakfa, in the plains of Barka, the burning stones of Dankalia, and in the vast body waters of the Eritrean Sea and other parts of the country, which all incurred high-priced martyrdom. The momentous commemoration of Operation Fenkil is not merely a day to celebrate, but also renew our commitment to our martyrs and be an integral part of the ongoing development endeavors in the The Eritrean people, who wrested their independence from the hands of the enemy through such heroic feats, are once again engaged with redoubling endeavors in the national development drive so as to heal the scars inflicted during the struggle for independence. Equal to the heroic exploits of war, the Eritrean people are performing miracles and exemplary feats of development, thereby winning them broader acclaim. Massawa is therefore a city that stands to both facts stated above. Massawa, a city that has become a catalyst for full independence, is also a spur in Eritrea's speedy economic growth.
بينا بالتالي غرورنا وبحرنا جنة ليه يومك ما ماري قلوبنا حتى لقى عمان تالي غرورنا وبحرنا نجملو نوش نوابينا نتكللو قبيلنا من دبلو ودايو من دمرو تاريخ فسرو